We once worked with the Sultan of Dubai. We landed in the airport, we had a private chauffeur, and then we did stuff that you just couldn't pay for. If you'd have said to me when I was studying my teaching degree that I was going to pack it away and go and write a blog, I'd have thought you were mad.
Hi, I'm Luke from Burnley Social, and the following podcast is a Burnley Business Week special. Burnley Business Week is sponsored by Burnley College and organised by Burnley Borough Council, and it features a full week of free live seminars. I'm also hosting a different podcast for each day of Business Week, filmed and recorded right here at Burnley College. These will tell you the stories of different local figures in business. I really hope these interviews inspire you, and I'm sure you'll find them relatable and valuable in many ways. The podcasts are released on Burnley Social's Facebook, burnley.co.uk's YouTube, and Burnley Council's Spotify. Without further ado, let's get into the interview. Enjoy. Sarah stays busy with multiple endeavours, including a highly popular crafts business and blog, all via her website, extraordinarychaos.com. So welcome to our Burnley Business Week podcast, sponsored by Burnley College, and thank you for Burnley College for lending us this beautiful podcast studio. I'm here with Sarah Christie. Sarah runs Extraordinary Chaos, a bunch of other things, so I'm going to I'll let her explain best of what she does and what Extraordinary Chaos is.
Okay, so hi, thank you for inviting me. My name is Sarah, and I write what was formerly a blog. I suppose I probably started out as a parent blogger. It's now a crafting website called Extraordinary Chaos, but I also write on two other websites / blog. We don't really call them that anymore. And that is Cruising with Kids, which is 100% cruise focused. Cruising with Kids also has a MSN news feed. So we're one of the only websites or bloggers to have an MSN feed in the UK. And also Mini Travellers, which is a family travel focused website.
Fantastic. And where did it all start?
So it started 10 years ago, and I used to be a hairdressing teacher in a college. And I used to teach level 3, so a lot of my students used to go on and apply for university for creative arts. And they needed a really good cutting edge portfolio. And I just think it didn't cut it to have something that was just like in paper on a book. So we started, and it was very much at the beginning of colleges using online facilities. So I got them all building blogs so that they built a portfolio, but it was an online blog so that when they went to an interview for uni, they had this online portfolio that they could access anywhere that looked great. And I just liked the whole process. So I thought, right, well, I'll have a go myself. And we went on a holiday to Paris, to Disney. And I just started it off, entered a competition and won best parent blogger. It was rubbish when I look back. So it just grew and grew. And within 2 years, I had to stop teaching because I just couldn't physically cope with the work. So yeah, that was where it started. So originally it was family travel. My boys were younger. They were happy to be on the website. So we just got invited all over. We've worked with Disney. We've worked with beaches, resorts. We've worked all over the world. We've been to Dubai. And at the time, it was the explosion. We were there right in the beginning. So it was just really fortunate to have had some amazing experiences. But obviously we hit COVID and everything changed. So
yeah, we can go into that later. But I just want to get a sense for when you first started out, what kind of things were you posting? How did it start to snowball?
The very first one, I mean, this is just ridiculous, but they used to really laugh at me in the staff room because Instagram wasn't even out when I started. That's, it was not that it was just so long ago, but it just shows how quick everything's evolved. And I mean, people just used to send you stuff all the time. So you didn't really earn money. There was no such thing as advertising. So you just did it for nice experiences. So, I mean, the very first thing I got was sent some Angel Delight, and I was just delighted. It was ridiculous.
Pun intended.
Yeah, everyone in staff room was really laughing at me. But it just escalated from there. So very quickly, we were working with Walt Disney World, and we'd gone out to Florida. We did get invited to SeaWorld, but I declined that just because of the whole fish thing. But yeah, it just really escalated. So we've made macaroons in chateaus with the owners of chateaus. And so, I mean, we've been stayed in Joan of Arc's cottage in France, and just stuff that people don't get to do. We were getting to do really early on because there was a small handful of us that did it. And I suppose it was just the new revolution of blogging and using normal people to advertise. And that we were just lucky to be there in the beginning.
What did the kids think about this?
Oh, I thought it was amazing. And, they'd go to school. And I mean, when we worked with Disney, we once worked with the Sultan of Dubai.
Wow.
And we landed in the airport. We had a private chauffeur. I mean, we did stuff that you just couldn't pay for. And we went for a meal, and they just filled a table with lobsters because we were too embarrassed to order because we knew it was all on the house. And when you're looking and thinking it's full lobsters, this, that, and the fish restaurant, it was fabulous. The owner would come in on his day off to meet us. You're thinking this is so weird, but because it was all supported by the Sultan, I suppose everybody wanted to make it right. And we said, well, would you just choose what you think we should eat? And they filled the table. So, and our kids just had experiences like that all the time. They were so lucky. They've had some amazing experiences. I remember once Sea Life emailed me, and I just sent back a really flippant, unless we can swim with sharks, then I'm probably not bothered. And I thought they're never going to do that. Anyway, they did. so the tunnel in Blackpool, I had to go in it to the sharks. But that was all about conservation, and that's what we went to learn. So yeah, it was really interesting and an exciting thing to be part of because it was so new and nobody knew. I suppose we pioneered it in a way, not me personally, but the people that were there at the time. Obviously, it's changed so much now; everything's so different, but in a different, amazing way.
Can I just talk about the name Extraordinary Chaos? Because I love this name. Has it always been called this? And where did you get the idea for this name?
It's just my life. That's it. Do the postman came the other week and was delivering a crafting parcel that somebody had gifted me, and the dogs were jumping up at the door, and he gave, his regular delivery man, he went, Extraordinary Chaos. He went, that makes sense. I just think we're busy.
Yeah.
We're always... we're just one of them families that don't stop. So it just fits. It just fits our family. Yeah.
So it's taking off. You're one of the pioneers of this travel blogging. And then the pandemic hit. Mm-hmm. What happened there?
Everything just stopped. I mean, this is where the other two sites come in. So we'd started cruising with kids because cruising is a real passion of mine. The cruise industry is quite a closed door, so you don't get stuff, but then nothing's free in life, is it? So we decided that we'd build it up, we'd get the advertising, pay for our own cruises, and then we can write about the cruises, and it all pays for itself. So everything was starting to build up nicely. Mini Travellers was one of my close friends' sites, and she is a solicitor, but she'd stopped law because it was just, we were so busy back in the day. And then the pandemic hit and people stopped travelling, and just all three sites just went just flatlined. There was nothing. Now, I was not on an advertising network at the time because I think my views were about 20,000 a month, but everything just stopped. So my what I've always, since being really young, crafted. So everybody just did something that I suppose grabbed onto something, didn't they, to keep them busy. So mine was craft. So I couldn't blog about travel. So I started blogging and creating craft tutorials. And that's just turned out to be bigger than anything I've ever done. So now I'm mainly known as a craft blogger. I take part in craft events in America. I don't go to America, they're all online, but, it's like all American, the big American craft bloggers. And the first time I was invited, I couldn't quite believe it. But I've been doing that for quite a few years and holding my own in that field now. And I've actually gone from that to I now design and draw my own files, which is all self-taught because I failed art at GCSEs. But I've self-taught myself to draw, and now I design files, alphabets, principles for children. And, it varies really because we're not on crafting season. Crafting season tends to go to September to March. But as an idea, my views at the moment are about 70, 80,000. There'll be 140 to 160,000 a month over the winter. So it's just a different league really compared to anything. So I used to get the nice stuff, but now I'm on advertising networks and I'm busy. I've got ad revenue, but then I'm also working with a lot of craft companies. So I've got the best of all the worlds, because at the same time, Mini Travellers flatlined. Karen, my partner, who wasn't my partner at the time, went back into law. And then after the pandemic, she then couldn't cope with Mini Travellers and said, can you become my partner and I'll continue in law? So I've still got the travel, but then I've got the craft as well. Cruising with kids was completely different. That just grew and grew and grew. And it was huge. And then, are you aware of the Google update, the recent Google update?
I am, but do you want to tell the
viewers
about it?
Yeah, so basically Google have changed the algorithm. So to favour, at the moment they've just lost a massive court case in America. So because they're saying that they are, what's the word for it? I can't think of the word. Monopolising.
Right.
Monopolising
Yeah.
the networks. So they've just lost that. But what they were doing was they were pushing some rankings above. And then after lockdown, lots of people that had never been on cruises that were set up cruise blogs from home and started copying content. So what happened is our site that was really unique and everything we wrote, we researched and made sure it was unique, that become just the same old. Everybody had the same. So we got hit and we lost everything. We lost our revenue, we lost everything on it. But again, it's all about pivoting, isn't it? And so I really quickly applied for an MSM feed, and I think we're just hitting 200,000 views a month on that. So it's a news feed. Nobody's ever done it in the UK before as a blog. It's all the Times, the Telegraph. So we're like a little fish, with all the
How
sharks.
did you decide to go for MSN?
I just think we thought we've got to do something, and it's like we can fight to keep Google, but if your content's being copied, and they're not coming and saying we're going to copy what you write, but they're looking and thinking that idea works, we're going to do it. So what was unique and really niche was no longer. So there's no point doing it. So we decided to try and do something that nobody else has got and just pivot completely. And it's been the best thing we ever did, because there's nobody else there. And not that we've no competition, because we have, and one day they might open the floodgates. We just got right place at the right time. But it really works for us, and we publish news every day, and it doesn't have to be breaking news. It's just news to you if you're interested in a certain cruise brand. But yeah, it's just a prime example of how you just can't rely on what you've got. You've got to keep looking for the next best thing.
Yeah. When you talk about crafting, do you want to just tell the viewers what kind of crafts?
So I started, I don't know if anybody's aware, but it's a machine called a Cricut machine, which is a crafting machine.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, so you've got a computer, and I want to make you a card, and you like sports cars. So you can go onto the program and you can get a picture of a sports car, and the machine will cut it out. So you can cut out anything. It also prints and cuts, so you can make stickers. And so I started just creating tutorials, helping people to use it, which was really good and really useful. But the thing is, we're working with brands, they're amazing. But you're only useful for so long, aren't you? Because a brand wants you to share their brand for coverage. But once they've got your audience, they then need somebody else's audience. It's evolution. So, I mean, I'm still great friends with the company, but I don't work with them anymore because they've now got new people, and I work with different brands. So what I decided to do, because I thought, well, what I can't do, and a lesson I learned really early was, I can't give all of me to the brand, because then if people are only coming to me for that brand. So I started drawing and designing my own files, so that I design alphabet. So say, I don't know, if you come to my site and you are into horses, then there'll be something designed with horses on. So I try to design for everybody in every walk of life. So if I do like a little set of angels for Christmas, I do them in 4 different skin colours. I've got a ballerina set. So I'm trying to reach and make sure that everybody's represented by what they can get from my site. They download it for free, and then I earn, because there's advertisement on my site. So I get the advertising revenue, they get the files for free, so everybody's happy. So it's just a different way. I don't sell. It's a different way of me earning my money, and I've got a really loyal following. So I think I've got about 26,000 subscribers to my weekly email, so they're there every week. So with my site, I don't worry about Google as much, because I know that when I send out my newsletter, they're all going to come and get the files. So I've built up my own little community.
Yeah, it's sometimes not about getting a wide audience. It's getting that loyal viewership, and that helps with advertisers. When you pivoted from travel blogs to the crafting blogs, was it an easy transition, or did it take quite a while to build that up during the pandemic?
It was really easy. I mean, I've always crafted food, create food content. I haven't lately because I haven't got time, so I republish the old stuff. But I've always made recipes. We always cook from scratch at home, so the recipes were always there. And in lockdown, people were looking for recipes, so I was cooking. But then the craft just exploded because nobody was going anywhere. So people needed something to keep them going. So actually, it was a right place at the right time scenario that I just used what I had and made something out of it, and it was the best thing I ever did.
Was it the case that you utilised your old audience for the new crafting blogs, or did you pick up an entirely new audience, or did you take some of that audience and find new people? Like, how did it work? Was it in that sense, in the audience sense?
I think because I wasn't niche, because I did travel, because I wrote a bit about family life back in the day. I mean, once the boys got to a stage they didn't want me to, I didn't, and I did food. So I wasn't niche, and it was a small pool of people. So people know you are. You've got people that read, but my audience was only 20,000, so I probably utilised some of what I had. But I mean, when I come out of the pandemic, I had 100,000 readers a month. So I grew, but then people were searching, weren't they? They were there ready to be entertained. So, I mean, look at the prime example is, what's he called? The Keep Fit guy. He's amazing. Joe Wicks, yeah. He's a prime example. He gave people something to do. And I remember a lady from Australia, because Australia were in lockdown a lot longer than us. And somebody from Australia emailed me and said, "You've got me through the pandemic because you've given me stuff to think about and look forward to." And that's amazing when you're getting feedback like that you've got these people. And obviously they got me through because I was homeschooling, which was, not what anybody wants to do. And anybody that's been through that, probably have got PTSD from it. So they got me through as well. So it was just one of those times where, and I know people that, we all dealt with it differently, didn't we? So I know people that just shut down and didn't do anything with their business and sat and sunbathed. So while they were all sunbathed and had amazing tans, I was at my computer thinking, well, I can make something of this. Now, I'm not saying I was right. I just did what was right for me from a mental health perspective. But we all did what was right for us at the time. Yeah.
Are you one of those people that has to stay busy?
Yeah. Hence extraordinary chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never stop. Even at night, I'm working. And my husband said to me the other day, and he's a director of a company, and he said, "You work too many hours." But I love it. I love what I do. So if you love it, it's not work.
Yeah. So you transitioned in COVID. Which is the biggest one today that you do out of Extraordinary Chaos, Cruising with Kids, and now you've got Mini Travellers? Which would you say is the biggest?
I'd say they're all. If you'd have asked me this a month ago, I'd have said Mini Travellers and Cruising with Kids, because they've both got big audiences but different. So they're both like monsters that need feeding, and they do. I mean, we've just been on a cruise and we work with Universal through Mini Travellers, so we're still so lucky. We work hard for it, but it's we're lucky that we still get those opportunities. But Cruising with Kids now, it's grown on MSN. I mean, we're aiming for 500,000 views in 2 months, so then that's going to be more than any of them, but in a different audience. So it's just all about pivoting and picking it up elsewhere. But we were heartbroken. We thought we'd lost that altogether. So the fact that we've built it up again is just we just feel so grateful.
Playing devil's advocate, Google changed the algorithm. What if MSN changed their algorithm and all three of your sites declined? Do you have a contingency plan?
Cruising with Kids, we don't, if I'm honest. Now, what we've found is we've obviously we've got some sort of, what's the word for it, penalty from Google, but they've admitted that they've accidentally penalise some people.
So what's the penalty for?
Well, we don't know.
Yeah.
And they don't know. I've got a friend that's lost 2 websites and, you know, she's lost all her income. So we're lucky that 2 of ours didn't get hit. So they've got another update soon and they're saying, oh, well, the ones that have accidentally, which we've definitely accidentally, because if you were actually penalised, they sent you a message. We never got a message. What happened was we just stopped ranking. We were number 1 and 2 for everything and then just weren't there. So the same could happen all the time in MSN. That's the thing. It could happen anywhere at any time. So Cruising with Kids, we haven't, but I did test taking a few posts off of Cruising with Kids that were our top posts and I put them on Mini Travellers and they went to number 1. So it's not the content, it's the penalty. Extraordinary Chaos, so I've got my newsletter and I think that's something I've really learned, that I've got the newsletter and those people are going to be there no matter what because they're my people. And Mini Travellers, we've got a reasonable following on Instagram and Facebook. So with 30,000, I think on Facebook, 28,000 on Instagram. So we just have to work harder at that. But you just don't know what's around the corner. You've just got to think on your feet all the time. You're never safe.
Yeah. And for people that might be trying to grow their business online, they might have an online blog or an online newsletter and they're struggling and it's slow or it's declining. Have you got any advice for these people that might be a bit less experienced than you are?
I think what we've learned, and really, because when we first started, it was about us. So, and that's how Extraordinary Chaos grew, because they engaged and they emotionally bought into my family, and then with Mini Travellers, they emotionally bought into Karen's family, and that is how we grew and got to do everything and go to all these events and trips. And then Google said, no, we don't want personal. What we want is information. If you're not providing information, you're no use. So what we all like to do as a community is go out and make everything more informative, facts. What Google are doing now is saying, no, we want it to be more personal again. God's sake, what do you want? So we're actually going back and pivoting and being more personal. And what I've found on Mini Travellers is that if I talk, because the trips we've been on, we don't write about anything we've not done because that's not authentic. What's the point? But what we've found is that going back to being more personal and being the people behind it is paying off because people want to engage again. And so obviously Google's recognised that. And what they've recognised is that you can be, I don't know, in the middle of the Sahara Desert and write about a cruise and never set foot on a cruise ship and you were ranking. But what has happened now, interestingly, is back in the day there was a lot of collaborations where people would come and pay for you to try their products right on their website, and it was really well paid. And that all stopped when SEO became really big because everybody had the formula to get to the top of Google and it was just the best one. So what people did was they invented programs that you could look and think, right, well, okay, to get to number 1, I need to do this, 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 and this. But they're getting the information from the sites that are the top 10. So people are actually able to go into programs and look at why you were ranking and use that, which is why all the sites ended up the same, which caused a bit of a headache for Google. So now, because we've gone back, there is no formula anymore. And if you're still at the top, you're really lucky. So as I say, 2 out of 3, we've done well. Brands haven't got that formula either. So now what we've found is brands are coming back and they want to work and they're willing to pay well for those collaborations, which are nice relationships where you're creating content together and it's good quality. So it's not all been bad. It's just, it's almost gone round in a circle because we've been doing it for so long.
Yeah. As a content creator, now, as you say, you're looking for authenticity. Is that easy for you, or do you ever get blocks of ideas and where you don't know what to do?
No, I never.
You
I feel
don't?
like my head's going to explode with all the things I want to do. I remember when I very first started, I'd be sat at my computer like looking for and writing lists of what can I do, and I struggled back in the day, but now I craft and I love travel. I'd be away all the time if I could. So no, I've always got a giant list and I never get to the end of a crafting season and achieve what I want. And I've now got an assistant that I put my designs together and she builds them. And I'm actually behind with what she's creating for me because I've got the idea. She's created it. I'm not printing it off or cutting it out. So no, never ever. I've always got a head full of
Where
ideas.
do your ideas come from then?
Everywhere. I don't know. I mean, it's just like, my latest alphabet is a caravan alphabet. You wouldn't get me within 10 foot of a caravan, but I'm look at my audience and think, well, what do they like? What are their hobbies?
What do you mean your recent alphabet?
So I designed, so part of the files that we cut out are alphabets. So I'll create a full alphabet and number set. So I used to do them just to cut out, but now I do them so you can print them, so they're colourful and they're beautiful. So you can cut them out so that you can put them in a book, you can make a card or a cake topper, or you can print them out in vinyl and decorate children's bedrooms. You can decorate weddings. So because you've got the whole alphabet, you can personalise everything. I mean, probably my letter Zs never get used, but there's that one time you might need it. So that's what I do. But I'm looking at my audience and thinking, what do they need? What do they want? What's their hobbies? So last year I created an Eid alphabet, and the lady emailed me and said, no one's ever done that before. Thank you. So it's, my audience is all over the world. So I look at where they're coming from, what their hobbies are. I look at calendars of what's going on in the year for events. So for everybody.
It must be a heartwarming feeling getting emails or messages from people saying, wow, nobody's done that. Nobody's done that for my community. Thank you.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing. And that's what inspired me to start doing my ballerina alphabet, my angel alphabet, to doing them in different skin colours. And I mean, I'm only doing them in 2 or 3, so I can't sometimes 4 because they take so long. But I just think if a little girl is into ballet, she wants that ballerina to be her colour. She doesn't want one that doesn't represent her. And that's just, it's not about me doing anything great. It's about just knowing your community and wanting to serve them.
And how do you know your community? How do you engage with them?
Well, through email. I get lots of messages every Saturday. My husband says, "Why do you do the email on Saturday?" Because every Saturday I get so many emails. I've got Instagram, and I've got TikTok, I've got Facebook. I take part in the American, so I got invited to the American Craft Festival. So you've got like 100,000 people take part in those. So you just learn, and also you can see. So on my shop, even though my files are free, what I do is every week I give one away. I also have like an alphabet. So I'll build an alphabet that is never going to be free. But every week I'll do a different letter. And they can get it for free. And then next week it goes in for £1 in my shop. What that does is it guarantees they're always going to open my email because they want the free rather than pay the £1. So I've sort of got them in there because they're going to open it. And even if they only go and get that letter every week, they're there. But then they talk to me. So I learn what they need. So then everything else is free, but they feel like they're getting a bit of value because once that alphabet's in the shop, it's £28. So then, does that make sense?
Yeah.
But yeah, they talk to me. So you just learn to engage. But also, are you aware of Google Analytics?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can see in my shop in Google Analytics, you can see what people are looking at, what they like, and I mean it's just extraordinary. Once we've hit fall, we call it in America, because I've got 50% of my audience is UK, 50s US. And once we hit fall and Halloween, it just goes crazy because people the nights, I suppose, are dark. People are in their crafting.
Where do you see it going in the future?
Where do I see it going in the future? It's difficult to say because I'm working in such an industry that is just so, I don't know what's the word for it. It's just so temperamental. I'd say with the craft is only going to grow as long as because I designed the alphabets. Originally, people thought, "Oh, I'll do that. I'll copy that," because that's what happens. They're not copied; they're inspired, aren't they? So but then it's such hard work that people don't do it. So that has made me a bit unique. Where some people, there's some amazing crafters that make flowers, but flowers they're not easy to do. You've still got to be really creative, but they're easy to copy. So my alphabets aren't as easy, and because I'm drawing them myself. So that will only grow. I think what I'd like to venture out into is more principles for children. And because what I've done is I've converted all of my alphabets to colouring pages. So I've got football, ballet, mermaids, pirates, hundreds. But with the idea that if there's that little boy or little girl, because I'm dyslexic and it wasn't picked up till I did my degree. So the idea is that if that child can't engage in learning, my oldest son wasn't interested in learning. If they could have an alphabet to colour in to help them learn the alphabet, that's their favourite subject, then that helps. And that they've gone really well. So, people and teachers do download them for their class, so that if, little Johnny only likes football, then he'll have a football alphabet to colour in, and somebody else will have a ballerina, or I've got London and New York. So if they're into travel. So I'm moving that on to making now flashcards, so that children can make sets of. Do you remember when you was at school and you got flashcards for spelling, so that they're themed in different themes? Again, to try and engage children in learning, because I struggled at school and no one picked it up because they didn't pick it up back in the day. So if I could design something to help children feel more excited and more passionate about learning, then that can only help them.
Again, that must be a great feeling that you're helping children and essentially changing their life, changing their cause.
Hopefully. Not about changing their life, but making them more interested.
Well, it is, if you think about it, because if they're not engaging with the topics, then they're not learning. And if they're not learning, they can head in the wrong direction, and it helps.
Definitely. I mean, when my oldest was at school, and the only thing he cared about in life was football. So, and I used to go into school and they'd say, won't read. So I got just all football annuals, and they said, as long as he's reading. So we did it through football, and that's how we got. And I mean, he's got a degree, he's got a great job, he's an architect, training surveyor. But because we found something that he could look at, but not all children have the teachers, or not because teachers are amazing, or somebody that sees why they're not engaging. It might be, I taught hairdressing, and sometimes you'd have a student that just wasn't engaging. But then actually when you look at it, there's a reason. So finding that reason and looking at what motivates them, because not everybody's motivated by money or this or that, are they? And if it is sport, then you should bring the sport to them to help them.
Now, I was doing some research on you before our interview, and you've got a fantastic bio on your Instagram that I'd like you to explain, because it's okay not to be niche. And it's an interesting quote, and I just want you to kind of explain a bit where that came from. Because,
again, when Instagram came out, I mean, I was there on day one of Instagram, and no one really knew what to do with it. It was unbelievable. I remember just posting pictures of donkey's ears and just trying to be a bit abstract. And then it became that people lived their life on Instagram. But it was all very much, you'd go to all the events, and I, if there's an event, I'll go to it and learn as much as I can. And it was all very much, you've got to be niche. You either travel or you're parenting, so that's what's been drummed into us for years. And I've just never been niche, and I've never bought into it. Some people are amazing at it, and for many travellers, it's got to be niche. But for me, I'm a complex person. I like travel, I like craft, I like cooking, and crafters can go on holiday and crafters cook. So why not? So I've always just not conformed. I'm not going to be niche, and no one's going to make me niche. And that my Instagram, through lockdown, it did go to all craft, but I'm introducing back me again.
Have you got any advice for someone who is trying to start blogging and they're struggling with their posts and they don't know how to find a niche, as in they don't know how to they don't know what content will work or should work or what fits in with their brand?
I think you've got to be authentic. So I am my brand. And, anybody that knows me will know that I am chaos. I'm like my mother-in-law was saying the other day, I'm never on time. I did well today. But I'm one of them people, my attitude is I'll get there in the end. Unless it's a plane, I'm not going to, not that I'm tardy, but I'm just chilled out. But at the same time, I like adventure. I want to do different things all the time. So that's me. That's my brand. I think you've got to be authentic. You've got to be yourself. There's no point going in and making yourself around a brand that's not you, because it's not real and it's not authentic. People see through it. So my advice would be, look at what you love, look at what you're knowledgeable about. Because if you're knowledgeable and you're talking about it, then it makes sense to other people. And look at what people want to know. So it's not just like, oh, I did this trip, but what do they want to know? So when we went to Florida, how much is an Uber to get from the airport to the hotel? What food do they do in the hotel? How much is the cocktail? If you want a cocktail, how far is it to get to the parks? So all those things people want to know, but that me, Again, because I have got a dyslexic brain, I see everything through colour and everything through pictures. I don't, when I look at a blog post, I don't look at the words, I look at the pictures, scroll through. That tells me the story. So my site and what works for me doesn't work for everybody, but I start with the pictures first and I write around it. And for me, that's how I do things.
Because it's the pictures, it's the visuals that draws in the attention, isn't it?
For me, yes. But then Karen, my business partner, because she's a solicitor, her brains just couldn't be farther apart, and she's very analytical. She deals with facts, I deal with emotions. So obviously there's different audiences, but for my audience, who are a creative bunch, it works.
Now, you talk about authenticity. You also do a weekly podcast, is that right?
Every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks you do a podcast. Do you want to talk a bit about your podcast?
Yeah, so that's... I was on a press trip on a river cruise and met this amazing guy called Kieran and his husband Phil, and they're travel agents. And you know, when you just hit it off, it was almost like love at first sight. We just was on the same wavelength of we love travel. We're both obsessed with Disney. He's got a French bulldog. I've got a French bulldog and a pug. So we just hit it off straight away. So now what we do is we promote him through our website. We don't take any commission. We do it because he's a friend and he shares our blog. I think sometimes too much of earning money out of other people. You've got to earn a living. We do it in other ways, but we share him, he shares us. And then we decided to do a podcast. So we do it once every 2 weeks. It's called Magically Cruising. So we're cruising with kids, he's Magical Traveller, so Magically Cruising. And to be quite honest, it's carnage. Because we're both really creative, quite loud people, it's carnage. It's never really quite serious. It's talking about cruise. We say what we don't like. We're really honest. But yeah, I think we're up to about 15,000 downloads. So we're doing all right. But the most important thing is it's fun. We enjoy it. And people listen on the way home for work. And if we miss one, they'll message and say, where's the podcast this week? So that's good. But yeah, it's just talking about what we love, which is Disney, Universal and cruising.
Fantastic. Anything else you want to say to the viewers? Any advice to people, or any plans that are in the works?
I'd just say, I mean, obviously when I came to this, I was a full-time working mum and I was juggling this, and I'd just say don't be frightened to follow your dreams, because if you'd have said to me when I was studying my teaching degree that I was going to pack it away and go and write a blog, I'd have thought you were mad. But it's just taking that decision. I mean, redundancy come up at the right time. That took a big hand in me making the steps sooner than I would. But I'd say just, obviously everything's hard work, isn't it? If it's worth it, it's hard work if you're going to do well with something. But just follow your dreams and just believe in yourself, because if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else is going to.
Sarah, where can we find you? What socials, what websites?
So you can find me on Extraordinary Chaos, which is on... that's my website, but there's links to all my socials on there. I think I'm Extraordinary Chaos on Instagram, because every now and again I change stuff up. I'm on TikTok as Sarah Christie, but that's just crafting. And then we're on Cruising with Kids and Mini Travellers. If you've got small children and you travel, it's an amazing resource for advice. So that's where... But Cruising with Kids has really turned into more drinks packages, food guides, ship tours. So we've ditched the kids as they've got older because they don't want to be on the camera anymore. So yeah, but... those 3 sites is where you'll find us. And if you like cooking, crafting, then Extraordinary Chaos.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.